A guy who bullied me in school later treated me badly at my own restaurant, thinking I was just a waiter. I stayed calm, let his behavior speak for itself, and revealed the truth only when it mattered. He thought I was just the waiter. I've never been good at telling stories fast. This is one of those things that only makes sense if you let it unfold slowly. So I'll start where it actually began. When I was in school, I was quiet. Not shy exactly, just the kind of kid who stayed out of the way. I showed up, did my work, and went home. I didn't try to be popular, and I didn't cause trouble. That made me an easy target. There was one guy in particular, bigger than me, louder, always surrounded by people who laughed at whatever he said, mostly because it was easier than being the next one he picked. He didn't beat me up. He didn't threaten me. It was smaller than that, more constant. He'd comment on my clothes, mock the way I talked, ask questions he already knew the answer to, just so he could laugh when I spoke. Sometimes he'd act friendly for a day or two, then turn it into a joke later. Like trust was something he borrowed just to embarrass me with it. Teachers noticed, but not enough to stop it. To them, he was just joking. I was too sensitive. So I learned to stay quiet. I told myself it didn't matter, that it was temporary, that once school was over, he would disappear from my life completely. And for a long time, he did. After school, I worked. A lot. Mostly restaurants. Dishwashing at first, then prep, then serving, then managing. I wasn't brilliant, but I paid attention. I watched how people behaved when they thought no one important was listening. Over time, I saved enough to open my own place. Not alone, not at first. Partners came and went. Eventually, it was mine. I didn't put my name on the door. I didn't advertise myself. I liked being invisible. It made people honest. I wore simple clothes. I helped wherever I was needed. Sometimes guests assumed I was a waiter. Sometimes staff from other places did too. I never corrected them unless it mattered. One afternoon, my event manager showed me a booking request. Wedding reception, large group, good money. She slid the folder across the desk. I saw the name. My stomach tightened in a way I hadn't felt in years. It wasn't anger, it was recognition. I didn't say anything, just nodded and told her to confirm it. That night, I barely slept. Not because I was nervous, because old memories don't ask permission when they come back. The first meeting confirmed everything. He walked in like he owned the place, loud laugh, hand on the counter, talking before anyone finished a sentence. Same guy, older face, same attitude. He didn't recognize me. That hurt a little more than I expected. Not because I wanted recognition, because it reminded me how small I had been to him back then. He treated the staff badly from the start, not openly cruel, just dismissive, interrupting, correcting, making jokes that landed wrong. At some point he looked at me and said, "Can you bring some water or something?" I did, and just like that, I was invisible again. Over the next few months, he came in often, planning details, changing things last minute, complaining about prices he'd already agreed to. Each visit followed the same pattern. He'd talk down to whoever was closest. He'd make comments about how easy restaurant work must be. He'd assume authority without having any. And strangely, he seemed to enjoy focusing on me. Maybe because I didn't push back. Maybe because I stayed calm. Maybe because he needed someone beneath him. Once he joked that I should be grateful for tips. Another time he said I should try smiling, customers like that. Every word was familiar. I didn't react. I didn't confront him. I didn't warn him. I just listened. People assume revenge has to be emotional, explosive, immediate. But I'd spent years learning patience. I didn't plan anything dramatic. I didn't need to. All I did was let him be himself. Every rude comment to staff was noted. Every unreasonable demand was saved in email. Every time he contradicted himself was documented. Not secretly, just properly. I stayed professional, neutral, almost boring. Inside, something was changing. Not rage, distance. I stopped seeing him as someone from my past. He was just a customer now, a predictable one. About a month before the wedding, he said something that stuck with me. He looked at me and said, half laughing, "You know, you remind me of this loser I knew in school. Same energy." It wasn't loud. It wasn't dramatic. It was casual. That's when I knew I wouldn't say anything until the end. The wedding day arrived. Everything was perfect. Food on time, staff prepared, guests happy. He was not. Stress brought out the worst in him. He snapped at servers, complained about imagined problems, accused staff of mistakes that never happened. At one point, I heard him tell someone, "That waiter earlier screwed everything up." That waiter was me. I waited until dinner was finished, until everyone was seated, until the music softened and conversations slowed. Then I asked the planner to gather the couple, their parents, and a few key people. Nothing unusual, just a quick check-in. When they were all there, I stepped forward. I introduced myself. I said my full name. I said I was the owner of the restaurant. The silence was heavy. His face drained of colour. Not shock, understanding. I calmly went through the final details, the added costs, the reasons they applied, all backed by contracts and emails he'd signed or sent. He tried to interrupt. I waited until he stopped. I didn't accuse him of bullying. I didn't mention school. I didn't raise my voice. I simply said we don't tolerate disrespect toward our staff, and that everything on the bill reflected his own requests and behaviour. No drama, no lecture, just facts. He paid, immediately. No argument, no scene. He barely looked at me when he left. Later, I heard he told people he'd been embarrassed, that the owner had set him up. But the more he talked, the worse he sounded. People asked why. People asked what he'd done, and for once he couldn't laugh his way out of it. I didn't feel victorious. I felt finished. Some people carry their past like a wound. I carried mine like a reminder of what patience can do. I never needed him to remember me. I just needed to stop shrinking. And I did.